Welcome to Facebook Live, parents. My name is Julie Paymer. I'm with Tina Steam, and I'm so excited to have Michelle Miller here with us today. She is one of our favorite teachers. She is from Granada High School, and she always has such great advice that I asked her to take time out of her busy day and join us so she could give you guys some help. You might want to have your students check this out. And so, Michelle, what do you have for us today?
Hi, Julie. Thank you for having me. Well, I just wanted to talk a little bit about some advice that I've given my own students and had feedback from them that these little tips and tricks are helping with this distance learning and feeling overwhelmed. So I talked just the other day with one of my young ladies about creating a list. Having a calendar notebook is great. I tell the kids I still use mine even though I'm sitting in front of the computer all day. A spiral notebook or a comp book, but doing something as simple as taking a list Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and starting to make notes underneath of assignments that are due. And if this could be something they maintain daily, so every time a new assignment pops up, they add it. Most of the digital softwares have some version of this, but I have found for me, I was tech comfortable, but not tech savvy before this. And I still like having paper calendars right in front of me. So I can also have that in front of me while I'm doing the digital work. So I think kids are feeling that same way. And so listing out what's due each day of the week, and then a separate list of all the late work. And even for multiple classes, just not mine. I know at Granada, we have categories or levels of weighted work. So we have like the little daily assignments, we call them learn-its, are very low weighted. It's the little things we would have done in class, like fill in the blank lecture notes. Reading this assignment is just a reading assignment, but nothing that goes with it. We have the kids digitally check off that they've done it in the e-textbook, and we just track it more so parents know they're keeping up. Those are only weighted 5 to 10% at our school. So I talked to the kids about our level 2 category, which is our use-its. And these are anywhere from 60 to 80%, depending on the class, of a weighted system. And so the focus should be on those assignments. So I tell the kids when they list their late work, a lot of times they can't do a level 2 without a level 1 knowledge. They have to go do the reading to do a level 2. But star the ones worth the most points, worth the highest weighting. And kids don't always understand weighting. So sometimes it takes a little bit of explaining that to them, that 5 of the level 1s aren't the same as 1 level 2 in value towards improving their grade. What I ask them to do with their list is today's Wednesday. So when they are available to sit and work independently, they're going to go through their Wednesday list and make sure those are all done first because they're due today. So we don't want to lose points on those. If there's a reduction in points or some teachers won't take certain late work, we want to get those in on time and keep them at their highest value and be ready for the next lesson, right? All of that at once is really important.
Right. Yeah. But you and I talked about that, and I think that's really good advice. So if it's due today, that needs to be the priority.
Get it done today.
Credit. But
exactly.
Right. But if you're working on your late work, that comes after today's.
Right. And what I asked my student to do was kind of self-evaluate when they're done with today's work. Obviously, at that point, if they may need a break, especially if they, pushed it all out with multiple lessons all at once, multiple classes all at once. So, take that break and then say, okay, I've got this much energy left in me. I need to catch up on some late work, or commit to every day. Let's get 1 or 2 late works off the list. Whatever's reasonable and balanceable for them. And that might be adjusted by how many late works are on there. If they've got 20, maybe we need to do 3 today. But pick those from the starred list.
Okay.
And they can categorize them by what's due the soonest or by class. Some kids like getting the classes they like done first, or they'll save. I have kids that their favorite class they'll save till the last because they know they'll enjoy it and they have to get through the worst first. So kids have their own the way they find balance. Right. But they want to get those late ones done with the highest value the soonest. So they also get to see check, check, or I tell them put a big bold line through it. It feels good to see those lines build up as being completed with something and
It
accomplishing
does.
something.
And you said one of your students mentioned a helpful system with Post-it notes on the late work.
Yeah, when I was explaining this to her, she said another teacher gave her a great idea where she puts her work, her late work on Post-it notes and puts it on the wall right next to her work area because then she gets to pull them off and throw them away and they're gone. So even better than scratching them out. And to take that a step further, kids might use different color stickies for different periods, for different classes.
Right.
So especially when you add that element, one more visual element change, they know if one class is built up. Maybe they need to focus on that class.
Right.
I'm going to share my screen really fast. This is a color-coded sample of a calendar that I've actually done with my children. And so you can see here, we use Schoology as our learning platform. Different schools in the area are using different platforms, but we can click on the Google Calendar up in the corner of Schoology. And if you happen to be using Schoology, there's a bright blue calendar line over by the month name, and it brings a pull down for every period the students enrolled in. There's a little square, and when you click that square, it allows you to change the colors. So in this view, you can see I have one daughter who has a class coded as red, and they give lots of assignments. This looks overwhelming for that one period, but 90% of these are little 5-minute activity. It's a language class. So they're just quick little 5-minute activities the teacher posts during the class that the kids respond to. So it's not just homework. In our system, any gradable assignment will pop up on the calendar. And 2 of these or 1 of these was probably done during the class session live. My other child has a much more balanced look to hers. I just find I'm very, very visual. I find a lot of the kids are very visual. And so they can look and say, okay, yellow is period 2 and green is period 4. And I don't have any, on the 3rd, I don't have, or the 5th, I don't have any periods 1 and 5. And that's a little more relief. One thing that I want to make clear, though, is that our calendars show due dates, not posted dates. So know if your student's calendar, or make sure they know if most likely in a digital world, these are due dates. So you've got to think a day or 2 ahead. What's the week look like, not just the day? And they can do that with written notes. Since I'm so color driven, I write in colored pens. I have highlighters. Each one of my classes are designated by a different color. So when I have my rosters out in front of me, and I show this to my students, all my classes are color coded on my rosters, and the pink has a certain key to checking off those assignments. So the students, it's funny, once I start bringing this up, I see all these color pins show up to class. Or I see kids that take typed up notes, not guided notes with fill in the blanks, and they'll start color coding. They'll highlight the background of their notes when they take them in class and submit them. So it's amazing how we as adults think this is something just so simple, why not? But it's learned. Don't trust that your child or your teenager automatically gets this. And when you tell it to them, you'll see the light bulb go on, and they just need to hear it. They needed someone to show them or hear it.
Michelle, talk to us a little bit about how important is communication, especially when your student gets behind a little bit.
Yeah, and I tell my students in this digital world, it's a fine line as far as emailing me everything. I don't want them to share every doc with me. I'll get 500 emails a day. There's so much going on I'm not aware of, that these kids have so much more and different responsibilities than when we are at school all day long. So communicating with me, I've had students email me and say, I'm going to be in the car, but I'll be in class. I'm sorry if I go in and out. Or I'm going to be in another location. Wi-Fi might be different. What do I need to know before I have problems? And that before is such an important element for a teacher. I try and embed into my students, don't let me know at midnight when it's due that you're not getting it done. Please shoot me an email at 6 p.m. when it's 6 hours till it's due and let me know, you know what, tonight's going to be a rough one. I'm going to need another day. And with that type of communication, the before is, I'm not saying after it won't happen, but if I get it before, I'm much more likely to be sympathetic towards their needs and say, great, you need 1 day or 3 days.
Right.
The other thing I ask my students to do, especially if they're not on a plan or their plan is vague about extended time, is, hey, I can give you more time, but when can you get that to me? Let's make a plan for when you're going to do it, because I also find a lot of these students are procrastinators. So if they tell me Tuesday, I'll get it Tuesday at midnight. But if they don't tell me on Tuesday or Wednesday, I'm going to get another email saying I haven't done it yet. So giving them a finite amount of time and extended is great, but ahead of time.
And you made a great point, Michelle. We're all in this together and we're all struggling in one way or another. And if there's something that you need to be aware of that's going on in that student's life, then they need to let you know, and that's going to reduce their stress because now you understand what they're going through and you can work with them.
Exactly. Know that if the TV's on the background, and kids today think, especially because they have all this tech in their face all the time, they think they need background noise. But I tell them, find YouTube music with no words, and say, I'm going to work for X amount of time. Take the breaks in between. When you finish your regular work or while you're doing it, say, I'm going to work for 20 minutes and then I'm going to, run outside for a minute, or I'm going to run downstairs and get a water break, or just get out of my chair and stretch. And that might be, for depending on kids, it might be 20 minutes, it might be 30 minutes, it might be an hour. But I'm going to not check my phone unless it's an emergency or mom or dad. I'm not going to have the TV on. My music's going to be selected for focusing and not enjoying. Talking to them about the types of music that are good, and the music helps sets a time of frame. So all those little things help with mental health. Get the pets. We just asked Yearbook to do a shot of students sending in their pets on their keyboards or on their laps while they're studying, because that's what's happening. I see 2 or 3 pets a day in my classroom. And Julie, you brought this up. Maybe I wanted to go to this university or this school, but grades have been a little bit tougher, or I can't get the electives, or in this world, the volunteering time was eliminated. And that was so essential for so many kids focused on a school career path. And so remind yourself that schools are schools, and there's many great institutions. Maybe I didn't get into, I'm not going to go after Harvard as a freshman now, but all these other schools have higher acceptance rates, less pressure, and great outcomes. So not narrowing down to just one path. And the picture you showed me, I'm going to go old school here, but the old school picture of, like, our paths don't look like this. They look like this. And everyone on this video that's not in high school anymore probably thinks back to where they thought they were going to go and how many turns. And I mean, I'm on my 5th career, I think. I never thought I'd be a teacher, and it's been my favorite. So we need to remember the positive encouragement is so much more valuable than the goal path setting. Because they do.
For the overwhelmed student, first of all, have a notebook, have it down by day, what you have due. Color coding on our calendars is really helpful. Listing the late work, either on Post-it notes on the wall or having a list, and starting with today's work, prioritizing today's work. And then once you're done with today's work, so you're not adding to that late list, once you're done with today's work, deciding how much time you have to commit to taking care of your backlog, prioritize that late work by what carries the most weight for your grades, communicate with your teacher in advance whenever it's possible, and prioritize our mental health and consider changing our future plans if that's what we need to do. Is there anything?
Yeah, and not even just considering, but being aware that that's okay. That change in plans is okay.
And if you have questions, go ahead and type them in the comments. Even if you're not watching this live, that's okay. we will connect with Michelle or the county or the teacher or school that you're with, the district that you're with, and we'll do whatever we can to get an answer for you. Well, Michelle, thank you. We're going to be in your class
Welcome.
pretty soon. So, Michelle, you have a good night. Have a good evening.
Good night.